Lesson 4. Today we'll be spending the class reviewing lists in Python. First, let's review what we already know about lists. The first question is, what are lists? And the second question is, what can lists contain? Feel free to pause the video anytime to answer these questions. The solution is lists are a collection of objects in Python. You can have a list of strings, integers, letters, or anything else. In fact, a list may contain multiple different types of items. Let's have another review question. How do you create a list? To create a list, we first name the list and use open brackets and close brackets and commas to separate the items in the list. Here's another review question. How do you get the second element in the list, which was, as you remember, banana? The solution to this is to use mylist open bracket 1 close bracket. This returns the string banana. Remember that indices start at 0 in Python, so apple is at the 0th index, while banana is at the first index. Here's another review question. What does this give us? Mylist open bracket -1 close bracket, where mylist is the same list as before, apple, banana, and cherry. The answer is this returns cherry. Remember that negative indices count as backwards in Python, thus the last element of the list is -1. Let's consider a new list of fruits: apple, banana, cherry, orange, kiwi, melon, and mango. What does the following command give us? My new list, open bracket 2:5 close bracket. This notation queries for a specific range of the list and returns a list containing the elements from the second element all the way to, but not including, the fifth element. In our case, this gives us cherry, orange, and kiwi. We can also use these same operators to assign and change the values of items in the list. For example, if we wanted to change the first element to be tomato, we would do my new list open bracket 0 close bracket is equal to tomato. Now my new list will be tomato, banana, cherry, orange, kiwi, melon, and mango. As you can see, we replaced apple with tomato. An interesting thing about Python is that you can do the exact same things with strings, using these brackets and colons to query parts of the string or elements of the string. In this way, strings in Python are basically lists of characters. Here's our first understanding check. Consider a list: cherry, pecan, walnut, and pepper. What is the length of the list? What are the indices of each of the elements? What is the 0th element of the list? And what is my list open bracket 4 close bracket? The answers to these questions are: the length of the list is 4, cherry is the 0th element, pecan is the first element, walnut is the second element, and pepper is the third element. The 0th element of the list is cherry. My list open bracket 4 close bracket is actually an error because the list's indices only go up to 3. Thus, we cannot actually query the element at index 4 of the list. Here's the next question. Consider the list A, B, 1, 2, 69, 70, and apple. What element is apple, and what are two different indices to represent apple? What is mylist 2 plus mylist 5? What about mylist 3 plus mylist 4? Feel free to pause the video at these questions because these are a bit more challenging. The 6th element is apple, and two different indices can be used to represent apple: 6 and -1, because apple is the last element of the list. Mylist 2 plus mylist 5 is 71, because 1 and 70 are both integers, and Python will add them like integers. Mylist 3 plus mylist 4 is not 71, however. It will be 269. This is because 2 and 69 are both enclosed in quotation marks, meaning that they are strings in Python. Thus, Python adds them like concatenating strings. Here's our first activity of the day. First, create a list of your favorite foods in order of most favorite to least favorite. Create a function which takes in two parameters: your list of favorite foods and which number of food you want, or which index. The function will return that favorite food. For example, you might have that your favorite foods are a list: apple, pear, and cherry. Get favorite food with input of the foods list and an index of 1 will return pear because pear is at index 1 of the foods array. Here's some extra challenge questions if you're done with the activity. You can make another function called print favorite food, which calls the other function and then prints out my favorite food is whatever your favorite food is. For example, print favorite foods of foods and 0 will print out my 0th favorite food is apple. Here's some hints for the first activity. The function should look something like get favorite foods, and number, and should return a string. You can also print variables in sentences by doing print, putting a string, and then putting a comma, and then putting in the variables that you might want to print. Here's the solution to the first activity. We define the function getFavoriteFood using def and having parameters of food list and num food. We returned foods list open bracket num food close bracket. This will use indexing to get the food at that position in the list. Here's the solution to the extra activity. Print favorite food will now first call getFavoriteFood to get the favorite food in the correct index. Then you can print that favorite food, print the number of your favorite food, and print your favorite food as one statement out to the console. Here's another project. In this project, you'll be using a for loop to take out and print all the items of a list separately. To do this, you set a list. For example, you might have potato, tomato, volcano, and toe, and use a for loop to loop through the indices in your list and print out the element at that index. A different way to do the same thing is to loop through the elements of your list directly and print each element. So to recap, today we went over lists in Python and some more syntax on how to use them. Here are some recap questions. How do you make a list in Python? How do you get an element from a list? How can you easily get the second to last character in a string? And how do you get multiple elements from a string at once? The answer to these questions can be found in this video.